Hello? Can you guys hear me? I never know with these headphones on. I think so. I think you should be able to. All right. So let's check the log and see if any problems are happening. No problems. This is like almost a miracle. Cool. So, hello. Welcome to Live Wednesdays with, just Meg today. Rachel and Shelly are both in Denver at an event, some sciencey, amazing things I don't understand that Rachel understands a lot. She was asked to go keynote speak at their symposium and event. So she's there and hanging out with those fine folks. Sounds like they're having a blast, and thanks to Envy is the acronym of the group for having this group with you at your event. Let's see, other announcements. Project management class is coming up soon. The week of September 16th, I believe it is. If you want to sign up for the 2 days or 3 days or all 5 days and you have questions about it, let us know, and we'll share with you whatever you need to know about that. What else? Oh, big news. The Accountability Summit in Sioux Falls, September 25th, is going to be, to use the 90s term, off the hook. We have partnered up with Human Capital Consulting, Maggie Owens, who is located in Sioux Falls, Brookings, and we decided we're going to put on a sweet event, and we're super excited about it. And we're going to talk all about accountability and change, getting teams through change, how do you hold people accountable, how do you create accountability where you don't have it, culture type assessment, and just all this really cool stuff. And what we really plan to do is give you all the resources you need to build an accountability plan, to build out some goals for 2020, so that when you go back to the office, it's not like, wow, that was super fun. And then the next day you think, oh my God, I just wasted a whole day. I could have been working. So we're going to give you all these resources so that you have actionable things to do when you get back home. So that's some sweet news for announcements. What else? I don't think I have any other announcements that I'm supposed to talk about. Shelly would be here normally to tell me what I'm missing, but she's not. So that's what we're going to do for announcements for this week. Hey, Corey, since I see that you just joined, can you hear me okay? Because I have the headphones on, and sometimes they don't like to work. Maybe. Wait, we're waiting for verification, because if not, then I have to start over, and I just don't want to not start over. Or just talk without actually, you guys can watch my mouth move and guess what I'm saying for half an hour, and that would be weird. It says I'm having connection issues. Oh. That's your problem. All right. Robin, can you hear me? I'm using my headphones and it doesn't always work. So I just want to check. No one's talking to me today. I don't know why you guys are ignoring me. You can't hear me? Hope you didn't hear that. Can you hear me now? Maybe. Can you hear me? How about now? Yes, I can hear you. Great. I love my headphones. I love technology. It's also fantastic, especially when I can't get it to work. This is what happens when you leave Meg by herself. Rachel, the tech wizard, and Shelly, the helps Meg do everything to blow her own nose. People are gone. Bad. So, okay, lucky for me, I had only gone through the announcements, so I'll go back through those really quick. Project management class, if you're interested in the 2 days or the 3 days or all 5 days together, that's the week of September 16th. So if you'd like to join us for that, then we would love to have you. It's for anyone and everyone who wants to learn more about project management. It's not just for people who are project managers already. And what else? We are doing an accountability summit growing into 2020. Let's get it done in 2020, I think, is the actual title of the event. And it's going to be a ton of fun and super awesome. And I'm really excited. It's going to be in Sioux Falls. There are limited spots, but we do still have spots open because we just opened the event. Our plan is to give everyone who comes, you can come by yourself or you can bring a team of people with you, your few, get it done people on your team. And by the end of the day, you'll have a plan for 2020, an accountability plan, a way to think about how you're going to make sure you actually get things done, right? It's different than a strategic plan because this isn't about the numbers side of things. This is how do you get people motivated and influence them. Oh, that might be the topic for today. So that they actually get the things done so you can actually follow through with your strategic plan that you set out. So it's going to be really awesome. I hope that some or all of you can join us. I put the link to the event in the comments here, and of course I'm sure if you haven't already seen it somewhere on one of our somethings, that's crazy to me because it's probably everywhere. So those are the two announcements that I can think of right now, and I'm by myself, so I get to make the decision on that. Okay, so today we're talking about the difference between motivation and influence. And about half an hour before we kicked into the live, I posted a couple pictures of a couple people in the group. Those two people were Mr. Rogers and Tony Robbins. And so why, Meg, would you post pictures of those two people? Well, because I think that they both have potential to motivate and influence, but more one than the other. So can you guys guess what I think Mr. Rogers is probably better at? Any guesses? Any guesses from the folks that are with us right now? I'll give you 2 seconds. 1001, 1002. Leave time for the delay. Okay. No guesses. I think that Mr. Rogers is probably better at influence. You trust him, right? Like for some reason, that red sweater and the way he ties his shoes, you just gotta believe in the guy. You trust what he has to say. He has a very calm demeanor. He's very engaging and thoughtful about the words that come out of his mouth. So I think that influence has to have some bit of trust with it. All right, let's talk about Tony Robbins then. What do you suppose I think Tony Robbins is good at? I'm not even going to give you time to answer because I know you won't anyways. You guessed it, motivation. I mean, look at the picture. The guy's on stage, like this, going crazy. I can't ever remember what the name of his, it's gone now. Well, what the name of his events are. If the name is probably Influence. That'd be funny. But people go to him to be motivated. They go spend thousands of dollars to see him on stage because it motivates them. It feels incredible. You feel empowered in your own life and like you're going to go do amazing things. And whether or not you actually go do them is kind of up to you. But when you leave a Tony Robbins event, love him or hate him, you're motivated. And so what is motivation really about? Well, motivation, I would say, is about exciting someone about a thing. So influence is about developing trust, developing a relationship, helping people understand the value in the things you're trying to influence them towards. Motivation is about the thing that you're motivating them towards. It's not so much about character or the relationship between two people. You don't have to have a relationship with Tony Robbins for him to motivate you, but you almost feel like you have a relationship with Mr. Rogers and he's an influencer. And so I think that that's the real difference between influence and motivation. Influence is about the relationship between two people or group, one person in a group of people or whatever that is. Motivation is about how you get people excited about a thing. So they're two very different things, but they probably both need each other. Because as a leader, especially in a business setting, you would have a really hard time motivating people if you couldn't influence them. And you would have a really hard time influencing people if you couldn't motivate them. Now, the really interesting thing about influence is that you have to be careful with it. Or maybe a better way to say it is some people aren't careful with it. And then they use it for, use their powers for evil and not good. Right? So influence can go both ways. And then motivation, I think, probably follows. Once you've developed some trust in a relationship with a person, then it's not as hard for them to motivate you to do something. We're having a major family, what would you call it? Event, I guess, life event. So we found a piece of property that we really like, and we'd like to buy it. The house that's on the property is a little bit smaller than the one that we're used to now, but the idea is that we would live in that house for a year and then build a house. It's got great views, perfect piece of property, super excited about it. But we're going to have to put our two children in one bedroom, and right now they have their own bedrooms. And let me tell you, they don't exactly see eye to eye on, well, I don't know, maybe not on anything. So I was a little bit nervous about how we're going to talk these kids into that's going to feel okay and feel good, right? Because we're trying to help them through a change. And so what I found out is that I have a lot of influence over my children because they trust me. And then I used triggers that I know about them because I know what their culture types are and how then those culture types go through change. I use triggers and things about them that I know to motivate them to see value in the move. And so when you wrap influence and motivation then around culture types and then getting people through change, right? Because most of the time when we're trying to influence and motivate people, that's what we're doing anyways. We're in some sort of a change state. So we're trying to get people through things. Shelley McCutcheon, who is Tony Robbins? You're clearly hanging out with Rachel right now. And so I used my influence because of the trust that I had developed with the girls to motivate them to see the value in all of this. So Joby, my older daughter, is an organizer. And so she always has lots of questions. But once she has an opportunity to ask all those questions, then she gets really excited and has all of these ideas about how things would be great. So I went through that process with her. And then with Peyton, mind you, these kids are 9 and 10, but Peyton, I'm still a little out to lunch on. She shows up, I think I remember she shows up as a fixer. And so as long as she has an opportunity to have some input into what's going on, she's pretty chaos tolerant. She doesn't really care about the moving. But she wants to know that she gets to have some, a little bit of a say-so about the way things work. So she said, well, if we're going to share a bedroom, then the second bedroom could probably be for like our toys and, kind of just our hangout space. And I said, oh, that's a great idea. I really like that. I did not steal her thunder. Of course, I'd already thought about that. Sometimes influencing and motivation is about letting other people have wins, and knowing when to do that and when not to do that. So that's an example of influencing and motivating people based on their culture types and the way they process change and the way they see the world. So let me look at these questions. So this first question got 0 love. Is there such thing as too much motivation or influencing when building and maintaining a team? What are good boundaries for both? Well, I don't think there's probably such thing as too much. Maybe you could have a problem with not exactly the right kind. So like I said, influence can be used for evil as well as good. And so if you're a leader and you're trying to influence people towards a certain change or new idea, you might have another influencer working in the background, someone who's not a leader, but they influence the group. And they might be working towards a different objective or kind of digging their heels in. Maybe they don't really like the change or they don't want to participate in the change. So I don't know if there can be too much influence or motivation, but there can be the wrong kinds. And so you got to watch out for that. And really be honest with yourself if you're being the negative Nancy influencer, because that's bad. Okay, how can you avoid negative influencing or motivation? Oh, well, would you look at that to answer my question? How can you avoid it? Well, if it's coming from you, I think the best tool you can use is the accountability model, which is in section 3 of the book. So section 3 is Propel. I don't know what page it's on. Anyway, you look up the accountability model in section 3 of the book and see how you're making your decisions. Are you making your decisions based on the victim loop, or are you making your decisions based on actions that are associated with the accountability loop? Are you denying, blame shifting, giving yourself excuses, pretending like everything's okay? Or are you actually owning it and saying, oh, you know what, we goofed this up, or I need to do this differently, or what have I learned from this situation? And so if, in fact, you're going through the victim loop, which chances are, if you think that you're influencing people negatively, you're using the victim loop. So if that's happening, then see how you can kind of run the scenarios through the accountability loop instead of the victim loop, and think about how you can use different words and how you can use different tactics to communicate with people. As a leader, a lot of times that probably won't show up as necessarily as backbiting or sabotage because you're the leader. It may show up though in as like strong, what might be perceived as strong arming. So if it feels like you're really, really, really pushing people into something, and it might be something important, like we spent $500,000 on this software. We are now going to implement it. I don't care if you like it, we are using it. So that's a real scenario. But how are you communicating that? Because if you're communicating it with the amount of snarkiness that you just heard in my voice, chances are that's negative influence. Think about different ways to communicate to people and think about different tactics. Now, if there's negative influencing or motivating on your team and it is not you, there's a very simple way to stop that. Simple, not easy. This is why we get to work and do the things that we get to work and do, because it's really hard for people to hold other people accountable to keeping their trap shut about things that are not their business, especially when it comes to business. Because, in every other part of our lives, we get to be the boss of the things that we say. So when it comes to the business of things, it's hard to sit and look another person in the eyeballs and say, you may not talk like that or about that or to that person about that thing, without feeling like, you're kind of getting into somebody else's personal space. But if you're a leader in the company, that is your responsibility to make sure that stuff isn't happening. So a few ways that you can handle it: walk them through the accountability model and say, hey, listen, I hear a lot of words associated with the victim loop. I'd like to hear more words associated with the accountability loop and teach them the difference between those two things and what that means. If you don't know the difference between those two things and what that means, and you don't get enough out of the book, then you should definitely come to the Accountability Summit in September in Sioux Falls, or you should sign up for our IXAF webinar on August 20th, I think is the day it is. Or you should call us because we would love to help you. I would especially love to help you because accountability is my most favorite thing to talk about in the whole world, except my kids, besides my kids. So negative influencers can literally ruin, or I don't know about ruin, maybe ruin your efforts at a good culture and definitely change what the culture is. So if you can't seem to get a grasp on it, find someone who can help you. It will destroy you. The first thing that goes when you have negative influencers and motivators on a team or within an organization is your turnover goes up. Your turnover goes up because people don't like that. They don't like not knowing. They might even act like they're like, yeah, we're in the boat over here with Sally. We like what Sally's saying, but they don't like the confusion of Sally's not the boss. You're the boss. I'm supposed to listen to you and what this company says, but Sally's over here telling me something I think I'd rather listen to, and you're not really telling me that I shouldn't listen to Sally. That's confusing for people's brains. They already have enough crap going on in their own lives. They don't want to have to come to work and deal with that too. If you don't get a handle on that, then they leave. So what happens when our turnover goes up, Meg? Well, then our production goes down. Seems to be a pretty simple correlation between those two metrics. So if you have negative influencers and motivators, you gotta, what is the word I'm thinking of? Just don't be in denial about that. If there are people that you know are causing issues on your teams, you better sort it out immediately. Next, how do I create a good balance between influencing and motivating my team? Well, I would say influencing your team probably results in more getting real work done. Motivating results in more people staying ambitious and fresh about the work, right? So they both tie into the getting the work done, but influencing might actually get more real work done or result in getting more real work done. So a lot of times, and it's easier to motivate people, right? Like if I know what kind of coffee is Rachel and Shelly's favorite coffee, and I need them to help me with the project, and I go in with their favorite coffee and I say, hey, you guys, I hope you're having a great day, blah, blah, blah. Here's your coffee. Can you help me with this thing? That motivates them, but motivation can run out. Think about working out. When you work out, like you can go to the gym or get out on the street to run or go for a bike ride or whatever you're going to do. And you feel super motivated. It's nice outside. The birds are chirping, blah, blah, blah. And 2 or 3 miles later, or at 20 or 30 minutes later, you're like, no, thank you. I don't want to do this anymore, like ever again. This happens to me a lot. Dave's on here. He can attest to that. So motivation can run out. Influence, I think, is longer lasting. But motivation is, it's more natural. It's a little bit easier for us as humans to do the motivation piece, I would say. So I think that making sure that you're answering people's questions and keeping in mind that influence piece has a lot to do with trust, that helps make sure that you're kind of keeping that balance of influence. The motivation part is a little bit easier because it seems natural to motivate people to do things. However, Rachel just popped into my head, even though she's not here, and she's always very good about pointing out to our clients that it's super important to celebrate the small wins. So while motivation is natural, if we get into like really, really hard work or big project, or we don't really know how to finish it, or there's just a whole lot in front of the team, it's easy to lose motivation. And then it's easy to lose motivation even for the leader. And then we don't celebrate the small wins. And pretty soon it's like, you bring coffee in, nobody really cares because we forgot to really be happy and excited that we're making it as far as we're making it on certain things. So it's important to keep motivation paramount. It's really important to keep influence paramount. Motivation, making sure that you kind of keep that up, like a small wins board, or maybe win of the week, win of the day, things like that are activities that you could implement in your team to make sure you're keeping up the motivation piece. As long as it's genuine and it's not just checking a box, which is a whole other subject. And influencing is really about answering those questions, asking engaging questions, making sure you're maintaining trust with the people in your group. All right, last question, and the one that got the most votes. Oh, what is the difference between influencing and motivating your team? Well, I think we probably covered that in great detail. So as recap, influencing is really about trust, I think, and building trust with people. I would encourage you to think about a time in your past, or a person, maybe is a better way to say it, who really influenced you on any matter, personal or professional, and why did they influence you? I mean, you don't necessarily go around being influenced, I would argue, by someone you don't trust. Motivation is a little bit different animal. That's about the thing, I would say, more than the person, but it's really hard to be terribly motivated by someone you don't trust. So I think that while they're very different things, they marry together pretty nicely, and especially in a leadership role, you're going to want to be able to use both of those things, influence and motivation. So that's all from me today. If you have any questions about influence versus motivation, sure, let us know. You can put words in the whatever that's called. Oh my God, social media hurts my whole being. Ask us questions in this Facebook group. That's what I'm trying to say, if you have them. And I put the Eventbrite link for the Accountability Summit here. I will put it also on the page. And for project management class, I don't know if there's a sign up for that, but if there is, I'll put it up here. And also for the IXAF webinar, I'll make sure I put that one up. So I hope you guys all have a great day. I hope you go out and positively influence and motivate the heck out of people. And I think I'm going to go spend some time doing that this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Enjoy the lovely weather we're having, well, at least in Western South Dakota. Enjoy whatever weather you're having in the other parts of the world. Lead powerfully, change the world. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.